Good evening. We are back. The Agents of Helm are in the building. Once again, bringing you some great entertainment for the masses out there. My name is Malik. I will be your moderator this evening, and this evening's episode is all about fear. So before we get into it, I want to just introduce all the agents here that are available. First off, we have Joe,
Hello, everybody.
and of course Johanna,
Hola.
and last but not least, our main man Lorenzo.
What's going on, Malik?
What's going on? So, real quick before we jump in, Joe, I think we have to. I think we might have to change our logo to include a female. Our current logo has four guys, one of which being Taylor. And I did get a question recently from somebody that had listened to recent episodes and said, "Hey, where's the fourth guy?" And so I had to say that he was no longer around. So I think what we should do is something where we have like the shadow of Taylor in the background.
The shadow of Taylor.
Like a Jedi ghost.
Like he's looming over us in some way, shape, or form.
You should be over Johanna, Malik. Shadow of Taylor over Johanna.
or some kind of a graphic where the Taylor character morphs into Johanna. Like,
Make it so, Joe.
I'm gonna make it happen. We'll do something. We're gonna get Johanna on there, and we're gonna change that cover art.
Or in the I was gonna say maybe in the vein of fear, and maybe in the vein of fear in slasher movies, we have Taylor there, and then we have like Johanna come up behind her, like scream and like stab her.
Yeah, stab him or slit his throat or something.
Taylor is alive and well, ladies and gentlemen.
He is.
In case anybody's worried about Taylor, he's doing fine, and it was just circumstances were what they were.
Yes, but
I don't want to make it sound like negative at all, because it's not negative at all.
it's not. But this is
Scheduling. It was scheduling issues.
it's not. But Lorenzo, this is Hollywood. It means that we can also kill his character.
Yes. Yes, and for the audience out there, we all work with Taylor, so we see him on a daily basis and give him a hard time about it as much as possible.
And I'm getting waffles with him next week, so there is no rift in tension that would require me to come behind him with a chainsaw.
And fried chicken?
Are you
Just
guys doing
waffles. Just waffles. No,
Just waffles.
Yeah.
no chicken.
What is that? Just waffle. Who just goes and gets waffles?
Well, no, they have other things on them, like you can get ice cream on them, or you can get fruit on them, or Nutella.
You had fried chicken and waffles, Johanna?
Is the sun, like, are we revolving around the sun?
Right, all right.
Like,
Is that
come
a
on.
yes? Is that a yes?
Anytime, in fact, because I asked Malik about it, maybe like 3 weeks ago,
Yep.
Where do you live in Harlem? And he told me, and I'm like, oh, that's X blocks from the chicken and waffle place. Anytime anybody tells me they work or live in Harlem, I put them in the proximity of the chicken and waffles place.
That's her landmark.
That's my landmark.
That's how she measures distance. Florida is about 1,000 miles away from the chicken and waffle place.
Yo, did you pass along my message to Malik?
Oh no, I did not. I totally forgot. Well, now that you're here, Lorenzo, why don't you give him the message yourself?
I said I think that this week Malik is going to do great as far as managing time during the show. I just feel that his biggest challenge is going to be himself.
Hey, can you explain that further, Lorenzo? I think you're leaving things out. Like, what do you mean by himself? His biggest challenge is going to be himself.
I think it's self-explanatory.
Basically, he's been accusing you of talking too long. Like, that's what it is.
It's not just that. Let's get the show going. Is what I'm saying. I'm ready.
It's funny. That's very funny. That's very funny, Lorenzo. But we will.
Yes.
So today's episode, like I said, is all about fear. Tonight we're going to cover the movies, monsters, and characters that have tormented us throughout the years, and the instances that keep us on high alert when walking into situations. So as we get started, agents, I want you guys to think about the scariest movie you've ever seen. Explain your situation that surrounded you watching the movie and your experience either in the theater or at home. How about Johanna? Let's start with you.
Um, can I pick a movie that I haven't seen because I'm too chicken to see it? That's how scary the trailer was.
Well,
Actually, that's how scary the description was.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. I can't imagine a movie that's too scary to see for me to see. But go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
The Human Centipede. You guys heard of it?
Scary. It's just really.
That's terrifying.
No,
It's terrifying.
You know what? Can we differentiate something right now, Malik, before we get any further into this fear discussion? Now, gore is not scary; it's gory, right?
No.
Scary is something else.
Well, I guess fear is whatever you make it to be. Like if you're afraid of something, you can be afraid of gore. You know.
It's your mouth sewn to someone else's butt. How is that not scary?
Yes, there's. I do agree, Johanna. There is something about that trailer that makes me just not want to see it. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I'm not afraid of it, but it's just that's not a part of the human psyche I want to open up. Just leave it alone.
So, my experience is I had a friend who was obsessed with it, and she did not find this terrifying at all. And then, so I was like, okay, well, I'll read the Wikipedia page. It can't be that bad. And I'm like, oh, dear God. And all I could think, if the image comes to my mind, it is terrifying. And I have to think of happy things. So we were supposed to have a Human Centipede party. It never happened, thank goodness. But on my birthday, she gave me a card, and she drew a bear centipede. So it was bears with their mouths attached to each other's butts.
That would never happen.
No, it's really unlikely. It's totally, wrong, but it was funny.
Is that what the Human Centipede is about? Because I've never seen it.
I'd like to see somebody try that. Not gonna happen.
So Joe, what about yourself? How about you? What's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
All right, so I'm gonna go back now because as I got older, I don't really find these movies scary. But going back to when I was a kid, I watched I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, the movie Phantasm.
Yes,
You guys ever heard of it?
Skinny thing that.
Yes, the Sphere. Yeah. Right. I found that movie terrifying when I was about 11 years old. I watched it. I was watching it alone at home. My mother was doing something in the kitchen and stuff. I was just watching the movie by myself in my parents' bedroom. And yeah, it was crazy. It's about zombies. It's about a guy who owns a funeral home. Or what do you call it? Not a funeral home, a morgue. Guy that owns a morgue, and he turns the dead people into like into zombies. And this kid, people are dying in the town, and this kid finds out about it, and he tries to stop it. Like a young kid, he's like a teenager, like a young, like 13 years old, 13, 14, and he's trying to stop this guy. He's called the Tall Man. Yeah, it was terrifying. Like one of the scene I remember the most, like the kid slams the door on one of the zombies and the finger comes off, and he takes the finger, wraps it up, and then it turns into some kind of like huge ass fly big thing. It was crazy. But yeah, I was terrified. Terrified.
Actually, I didn't realize that that's where the reference came from, but apparently, I mean, I don't know if any of you have heard about this, but there were two teenage girls that tried to kill another teenage girl. They tried to stab her to death. And they did it because of, like, there's some website about the Tall Man. Yeah, and the Tall Man was demanding blood or something like that. So I guess that's...
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. There was a Tall Man. I thought it was the Slender Man. The Slender Man.
Yeah, I thought it was Slender Man. It wasn't Tall Man.
Slender Man. It was the Slender Man.
Then never mind. Let's move on. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah. For me, it was the Phantasm.
it did bring up actually Joe's
The fan.
story that did actually bring up that it did trigger that thought in my mind as well, Johanna. So you weren't alone on that, even though it wasn't the same person.
How I
Lorenzo,
know.
how about you?
See, this is a tough question because, um, so I grew up with like I don't think my father really understood or he didn't believe in the rating system. You know, I don't know how old the rating system is that they use, but he had absolutely no problem taking me to go see rated R movies when I was very, very, very young. One of the first movies I remember seeing, like one of the first movies okay, Johanna, what is the first movie you remember seeing?
Ah, wow, that's really hard. Batteries not included.
Malik,
Um,
what's the first movie you remember seeing?
You mean in the theaters or just in general?
Hey, yeah, let's say in general.
The first movie I truly remember watching is Gremlins.
Okay, that's pretty scary. What was the movie you remember seeing in the theater?
Gremlins scared the
Okay,
bejesus out of me.
okay, see that one's kind of scary. Joe,
I'm afraid to say after Johanna said batteries not included. Oh God. First movie, I really don't remember. My parents, just like you, Lorenzo, my parents took me to everything.
yeah.
Um, I saw the Deer Hunter when I
Holy
was
potatoes.
yeah, I was in, giving away my age now. I was in third grade when the Deer Hunter
Wow.
came out, and I went to see that. My parents took me to everything. I went to every movie because I really didn't have anybody to watch me, so I saw everything. Um, yeah, I don't remember. I really don't have. I don't know. It's probably some kids movie. I really don't remember what the first movie in the theater I saw.
Yeah, I mean it's a
Uh,
good guess that it's like a kids movie, right? The very first movie I remember seeing is Alien. The first scene that I remember from my childhood is the scene where the guy is being lowered down into the nest of eggs, and then the one egg like jumps on his face and punches a hole in his mask and starts sucking on his head. That is my first cinematic memory. So it's pretty hard for me to say anything else but Alien because that had such an impact. I mean, that's I think that's kind of what you were saying, Joe, was that the movies from when you were a kid just they scared the hell out of you. Like Poltergeist. Oh my God.
yeah,
You
so
know that like that one just appeals to every fear that a kid has. Clowns, lightning, ghosts, the television sucking you away. I know that was always one that I was scared of. But so yeah, I think I would have to go with Alien. Another thing, though, I was telling Joe earlier was that apparently my parents also took me to go see King Kong, or I saw King Kong at an early age too. Like before I don't remember seeing King Kong, and yeah, apparently I had nightmares for months and months about a big gorilla attacking me.
Well,
Valid.
that's definitely a valid one because I'm still afraid of gorillas now. So whatever. I don't like them. But even though Congo made them seem like they were pretty nice, but
yeah, that was horrible.
yeah, Congo made them seem like they were trainable and nice. But then you realize no, these are wild apes that can like rip you in half. So whatever.
What about
Um,
the Planet of the Apes trailer?
it does. No, that looks very good.
Yes, I'm excited.
For me, I would probably have to say so. Like I said, like when Lorenzo asked, the first movie I remember seeing in the theaters was Gremlins, and although I remember it scaring me and me having a lot of bad dreams with reference to that, I don't remember it being this. I think the scariest movie for me ever was Nightmare on Elm Street. Was the first Nightmare on Elm Street,
It's like,
because I mean, well, partly was because like you could explain to me, you could explain all the other scary things that were going on, or scary movies and stuff. You kind of explain like Michael Myers. You kind of explain, Jason or whatever. But Freddy came to you in your sleep, and you couldn't not sleep. That was the whole thing. Like you could try all you wanted to. At some point in time, you were going to go to sleep. So you have this killer who was extremely scary. I mean, before Wolverine made claws look interesting, before Wolverine was a character that everybody loved and made claws look great, Freddy Krueger made those claws look like, the worst things on the planet. A hand with claws was like, no, you are not coming near me with that thing. So, yeah, Freddy Krueger was definitely that first character, and then they completely destroyed the character as the years went on and made him comical. And but that very first film, I remember just scaring the hell out of me because I didn't realize it was a no-win situation. And then to find out, throughout the movie, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but throughout the movie that the reason why he's killing is because of the fact that he himself was killed by the parents of the kids that he was attacking. So, like, I'm a kid watching this movie and thinking to myself, like, yes, I'm going to suffer for the sins of my parents. It had me looking at my parents like, what have you done in your past that's going to have some guy coming after me later on? Because, and then it was like, they lived on Elm Street. So it's like, yeah, my location and the fact that I am your child is what dooms me to death. Like, that just, to me, was horrible. So, yeah, Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street was absolutely the worst possible movie to me. So my next question is for you guys is, what's the scariest moment in your movie watching history? So it doesn't have to be a full movie that scared you. It could just be a moment in a movie that like made you jump out of your seat, or something that was going on, or a scene that happened that kind of stuck with you for a while. Is there anything? I mean, you can feel free to say that there's nothing if it's never happened to you. But is there anything that's ever happened to you where that's been like something that you can remember? Lorenzo, how about you?
Okay, well, I was thinking about this just right now because earlier we've been kind of like watching pieces of it. Sometimes it's hard to just get the time together to watch like a whole movie at one sitting at home. I don't know how it is for you guys, but me and my kid were watching Blackfish. Have you guys seen that movie?
Oh, yes, about the whale.
It's about many. Have you seen it?
No.
Is that the one about the killer whales?
Yeah.
Yeah, the documentary.
Yeah.
Yep, I saw it.
Yeah, so we were video footage, or not, they have footage of one of the trainers being, he just gets his foot yanked by a whale, one of the orcas, and the orca drags him down to the bottom of the pool and just holds him there for like a minute, 20 seconds, and then lets him up, and then drags him down again. He does it like 3 times before he finally lets the guy go. And you're watching this, and the way they deliver it, you don't really know if the guy's gonna make it. And that just happened, and that really creeped me out, man. That was pretty scary. And there's a lot of documentary stuff. Like, did you guys ever see the one with the what's it called, Grizzly Man?
Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, that's what you get for playing with bears.
Exactly.
But oh wait, did they play the audio from it? They didn't, right? They just showed it.
They didn't.
Yeah.
All they have is Werner Herzog listening to it, taking off the headphones, and saying, "You have to destroy this. No one should listen to it."
Yeah, I don't know. There was something about that scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, that was scary.
I don't know why.
No. I think.
And then, as long as we're talking about, well, I'll save that for some other time. But like a moment in history that I can think of, that concept of, I mean, you're right, Malik. That whole concept of Nightmare on Elm Street, where the minute you doze off, like you don't know whether or not you're in reality or not. That really frightened me, and it led to a nightmare that I had about being attacked. Like my whole community, when I was like, they all turned into werewolves, and they came after me. And then I got home, and I went downstairs, and my brother's room was a jungle, and he was taking these pills, and then he turned into a werewolf, and then and then I ran up the stairs, and I jumped in bed, and I put the covers over my head, and then when I peeked back out, I didn't know whether I was awake or asleep. That was horrifying, and I blame that on nightmare. That's your answer.
All right, Joe, what about you?
All right, so scariest moment in my movie watching history. I'm gonna go to another older film. The very first, I Spit on Your Grave. I don't know if you guys have seen the original version of I Spit on Your Grave,
No, I just
Recently, I
by
saw
by
that
Roger
too.
Corman. By Roger Corman. Um, I don't know. You guys know what it's about, though, right?
yeah.
It's about a woman who gets raped and she gets her revenge.
Hmm.
Yep.
So in the original one, she does a bathtub scene where she she goes to one of the guys that raped her. She pretends to like him and gets him to take a bath with her. As they're taking a bath, she grabs a knife and slices him where no man wants to be sliced. And then all you see is the blood shoot out from the bathtub.
Oh.
It just like shoots up like a fountain. And oh my god, when I saw that, I didn't see it when the movie came out. I saw it like when I was a teenager, and man, I was like, whoa. I was like, wow, that scared the hell out of me because that messes with two things. Getting stabbed and getting stabbed in that place for a guy. I mean, I just that kind of just creeped me out. And then and another thing, when I went to go see Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. That's the movie where Jason actually gets the mask, the hockey mask.
Right.
That night when I went to bed, I couldn't sleep because I was looking at there was a fan in my parents' room where I could see the back of the fan, and I woke up at night and it looked like a freaking hockey mask, and I couldn't go back to sleep. All I kept thinking was Jason's coming to get me. Damn Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
See, now
So my-
that's more of a moment. That was more of a moment that like it stayed with you even after you
Yeah,
left
after the movie,
Yeah.
right? It was scary to me, but
That's what I
I
just
spit on your grave, I spit on your grave thing.
Yeah.
I found that freaky.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Johanna, how about yourself?
Joe objected to my original one, so I'm gonna go with a more mainstream
What did I object to?
to the scene in Signs where the alien comes out at the birthday party.
That was creepy. I agree.
Yeah, that I guess if I gave some more context, which is that my father was obsessed with aliens, and he used to talk about aliens all the time, specifically about getting abducted and why you would get abducted. And he's like, he's like, it'll happen. They'll just come in and they'll take you. And so I'm neurotic, so I have a lot of fears, but it's no longer a fear that I have. When I was younger, I was freaked out that an alien was gonna come through like my door and abduct me. And it wasn't so much the abduction part that freaked me out; it was seeing it. It's seeing something that's so completely alien from you, but has an intelligence and all this stuff like that other. Talk about the other. That is like the other, capital O. So when you see this movie, Signs, which I like, it is one of my favorite movies, Joe.
I
Really?
disagree with you. I can't follow you anymore, Johanna. You lost me. I was with you for a second.
I don't know.
And what's your second favorite horror movie? The Happening? Come on.
No. My second favorite horror movie is Dawn of the Dead, the remake. And that's my other scary moment is it's the end of the Dawn of the Dead remake where they've escaped and they have like the video camera that the guy was using to like film himself having sex with girls.
Right.
And it's just a couple of shots. It's like, it shows that their food rotted and they kind of can't stay on the boat. So they have to go to somewhere. So they find this dock, and when they get there, the zombies come out to eat them. But the thing is, it's not a continual shot. It's like really choppy. It's like you see these zombies coming, but it's like little by little by little, and like the last shot is one of them like right up in the videotape. And the music is really creepy too.
Yeah, I do remember that scene. That scene was definitely one of those. It was one of those scenes where I wasn't afraid of it. I can't say that I was afraid of it. I actually really liked that scene just because this was one of those movies where no one makes it out alive, and I kind of was okay with that because to me, zombie Armageddon, zombie apocalypse type situation,
Everybody died.
people making it to safety is just not. It just doesn't seem like it's logical. So
Yeah.
when they get to this island and you think that they may possibly have found some sanctuary, and then they get overrun by zombies again, and they're like, "Uh-oh." It's clearly not just in the city that they were living in. It definitely like made me happy to that was the end of the movie. For me, I think so. I was actually on the fence about between one of two things. The Sixth Sense, so it was another one of M. Night Shyamalan's movies, really creeped me out, but it was one of, like Joe explained, or like Lorenzo explained, it was one of those after movie moments where I saw the movie, I was kind of creeped out by it, and then I came home and I remember distinctly there was a light in one of the corners of my home, which usually we kept on when somebody was out. You'd keep that one light on just so that when they came home, they would be able to find their footing or whatever. They wouldn't trip over anything or whatever. So it was like a nightlight or whatever for anybody coming home late. So I come home and I completely had forgotten that light was going to be on. After seeing The Sixth Sense, I come home and that light is flashing and there's like something illuminating in the background. And of course, I just saw the damn Sixth Sense. I'm thinking right away, it's a ghost. Something's in my house. It's gonna kill me. But for that whole night, I was just kind of like I was reluctant to go over to the light to turn it off because I was just like, I don't know what the hell's gonna grab me. Something's gonna touch my arm. But really, that whole movie, there's the scene with the little boy when he gets stuck in the closet, the little closet area. And he's screaming and screaming and screaming, and something grabbed his arm. Like that whole scene was like jarring. The other movie that I actually would pick is well, some of us here, American audiences, will know it as The Ring, but it's Ringu, which is the Japanese version of the actual film, the original film. And it's the moment when the little girl climbs out of the television. First off, the fact that, the damn TV turned on its own, okay, and it turned on at the specific time when that whole moment where you get a phone call that tells you that something's gonna happen in 7. Doesn't even tell you what's gonna happen. It just tells you that it's 7 days, and that's it. That's what you hear, and then the TV turns on, and you're sitting there, and this figure is getting closer and closer and closer, and it climbs out of the TV. And I remember distinctly sitting in the theater watching that movie, and when she climbed out of the TV, I moved back in my seat, and that's the first time I can ever remember having done something like that. So for me, it's definitely Ringu. If you haven't gone out to see that movie, it's really good. So yeah.
I just what this really makes me think of is just how what you're talking about now is just like bringing out all this stuff from like childhood, right? Like when you're talking about these fears, like it just really gets to like these primal things. And one of the things that came to my mind was E.T., extraterrestrial.
E.T.
Really?
Yeah,
E.T.
I saw
scared
that
you?
when I was a little kid, and I remember the when they come for E.T., they're wearing those masks and they like turn.
Yes.
You guys remember that? They like.
That's really scary. Yeah, like the
creeped
yeah,
the shit out of me.
the decontamination suits. Yeah.
Yeah, it's when Peter Coyote and the rest of those guys are coming to the scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Found it scary?
Yeah, man. I mean, that was like one of my favorite movies. That was like one of my favorite movies as a child. I loved E.T. Like it was the first movie that like made me cry like emotionally, And then the ending was so awesome. I don't know. It was a great movie. Another thing I thought of was like the Blair Witch Project, where like you're in the theater and people are throwing up. Like people were throwing up in the theater, and part of it is the choppy camera work, but also, the movie is messed up. Like like some of the audience actually thinks it's real or something.
Oh, a lot of people thought it was real. I found that very funny.
But yeah, I mean, so you're watching it, and the movie is not that great. It's okay, but the ending did creep me out. And then added onto that was people throwing up, and the whole thing just left a really bad taste in my mouth. And I just wanted the Dead Island. Do you guys ever see the trailer for Dead Island, where the little girl is like on the ground, and then they show like a reverse where she goes up into the window, and then there's this whole fight that breaks out, and it goes all the way back to when she first got bit, and then it goes back to when everything was calm. The whole thing is like a scene in reverse. Very creepy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you're right. You're right in the sense that a lot of our fears come from our childhoods. Most of the things that you fear, you can kind of trace it back to your childhood, and that's actually the second topic that I wanted to go into today actually the first topic after our intros was, one of your fears. Name everybody has a fear, or at least one. Can you name one of your fears, or if you want to name more, you can. And what caused the fear to manifest? Don't have to get too deep. I don't want to get too crazy and too deep into it, but at least just a quick story or a quick rundown about one of your fears and where it came from. Joe, how about you start this time?
I'm afraid of heights.
Really?
Yeah. I don't like it. I told you we were just talking about roller coasters the other day. It took me forever to get on one. Part of it is because of the heights. I didn't like going up, or rather coming down from but yeah, I'm not a big fan of heights. I don't like when I go to a mall or something. I want to look down. I reach over. I leave my body like back here. I try to reach my neck over to look down and see what's going on or something. Yeah, which because of the heights thing, I was up to into my late 20s. I was like terrified of flying. Terrified.
Really?
Yeah, I was terrified of flying. I would do it. It wasn't the fear didn't overcome me where I wouldn't fly, but I was like nervous the whole time. But I got over the flying part. As I got older, I was just like, what am I gonna do if something goes wrong? Am I gonna go into the cockpit like, dude, get out of there? Let me take over. No, that's not happening. So I find like you just let it go, man. At least for the flying for me, I just let it go. I'm like, there's nothing I could do. I can't take over the plane. I'm not gonna drive it. I'm not gonna fly it. So whatever happens, happens. But as far as like getting on a roof or something and looking down, no, I can't do it. If I go up high, I just got to keep looking up. I try not to look down, but just keep looking up.
I was hoping we were going to get like a B.A. Baracus story from you with regards to...
where they drug me? Drug me, hey, Joe, here, have a sip of this tea. Fall out, and then wake up in California. What you fools do to me?
Did they do that in the movie?
They did do that in the movie version as well, where they drugged the B.A. Baracus character.
Yeah, they did drug. Yep.
So I was gonna go with Johanna second, but since she said that she has a few, I'm gonna save the best for last. I'm gonna go with Lorenzo. How about you tell us about your fear, and one of your fears at least, and where it came from.
So when I was a kid, so did you guys hear what I said about Blackfish? 1 minute and 20 seconds being under the water, being held by a big fish.
Yep.
Over a minute. So when I was a kid, I fell into a pool and I almost drowned. And so I have like a pretty big fear of having my head underwater. I mean, like I can swim and everything, but learning to do the freestyle swim, I wasn't able to do that until college. And like it's really like a mental exercise for me to do laps because I am like this close to panicking the whole time.
Really?
And yeah, and so that is definitely like fear of drowning is like a huge one. So that scene from Blackfish, I think that was one of the reasons that really resonated with me, because this guy was under the water for a minute and 20 seconds. Whenever I go, I can stay underwater for like 20 seconds before I start to freak out. That's probably my limit. So just seeing that guy do that. Another thing that scares me a lot, like one of the things I can't even think about. Did you guys see Cliffhanger? Joe, I know you saw Cliffhanger
Yes.
with
Yeah, oh,
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the thing that really messes up his character is that at the beginning, a person falls and he's holding her by the hand, and he's got to hold her, otherwise she's gonna die, and he can't hold her anymore, so she dies. And so like just being in that situation, like where I think about like, oh, what if that just freaks me. Like I can't even think about it. Like my mind just immediately shuts off. And do you remember Saw, where he like the guy has like the key in his belly or something, and she's got to dig it out of his stomach, and I think the guy was still alive. Yeah, like so like choices. I think choices in general frighten me, where you have to like decide, like
Lorenzo, chicken or steak? Chicken or steak, Lorenzo? Chicken or steak? Give me an answer.
Yeah, that stuff, like those kinds of thoughts, and like that scene from Saw, are the one where the Joker throws the baseball bat between the two guys, and he's like, "We got an opening for one person." Remember that from
from Dark Knight.
Yep.
The Dark Knight. Yeah, that kind of stuff just like kind of freaks me out there. Oh, one last thing. The Shining. Do you guys remember when like the creepiest thing for me in The Shining was looking at his papers. Like he's been typing for like days and hours every day, like 8 hours a day he's been typing, and all that's on the page is all work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that like I think that is like deep down I have this fear that at the end of my life, that's all I'm going to have to show for it is the big manuscript that says all work and no play makes John a dull boy.
Johanna, how about yourself? Let's save the best for last. So how about yourself?
So one of my fears is cramped spaces. I have claustrophobia. I didn't realize I had claustrophobia until I was in an MRI. And they had my head in a thing, like a, that cage thing, because it was a brain MRI. And I forget what else they had put on me that was like very sensory deprivation-y. So they put me in, and then all of a sudden I just start bucking. Like that's the only thing. Like I just started freaking out, and the woman was like, "You didn't tell me that you were claustrophobic." I said, "I didn't know." So she's like, "Well, do you want to keep going?" And because I'm just stubborn and stupid, I said, "Yeah." I'm like, "I'll just take some deep breaths and do it." But once it was done, I said, "I'm never going to do this again." So I do the open MRIs. And even those are really scary to me because they're very close together. Like, you have definitely an opening, and they have a TV, and the TV plays Everybody Loves Raymond so that you don't freak out too much.
How many MRIs do you get? A lot of MRI. I've never had an MRI. You use often?
No. I don't even know why I had these MRIs, Lorenzo.
Like, you have a preferred MRI, just like that is like, you have a preferred, like we were talking about music listening option earlier. Like I like Pandora over, anyway, go ahead.
Well, this is what happens when you're neurotic. So I told my husband that if I were even in a car accident and they were going to put me in an MRI, they have to sedate me because I do not want to wake up in an MRI. I don't. Like, I can't. So that's one. The second one is crowded spaces. And I live in the worst city
I
for
was gonna
this
say,
to
New
be.
Yorker? My goodness.
I actually I have like anti-anxiety medication that's like PRN, like as needed, and yeah, like they're like with trains, it's like I'm like, okay, I gotta take one because it's actually that and my fear that someone's gonna push me on the subway onto the subway tracks.
Yeah.
Um, like those are two reasons why we moved to Manhattan. um, because you add, your child in the mix, and then it's even more terrifying, you
Right.
know?
Yep.
So on the weekends, we don't take the train. I try as much as possible, and if I do take it, I don't take it with her, like if I'm by myself. Um, I think fear of aliens. We've talked about that already.
What
Oh,
do you call the fear of aliens? What's the term for that?
Is there a
Xenophobia.
term?
What?
yeah, xenophobia
Xenophobia.
is technically.
Xenophobia. Okay.
Yeah, but yes, there's another fear I have. I don't know if any of you have read Like a Velvet Glove, Cast in Iron.
No.
It's a graphic novel. And so in it, the guy is like trying to he's watching this porno, basically, and he sees his ex-girlfriend, and it's a snuff film, and he wants to know what happened, so he starts investigating, and he meets like this potato girl, like she looks like a potato fish girl, like she's totally like deformed, but she's in love with him, and it's one of the things where like he finds out too much, so he gets all of his limbs chopped off, and then he has to live with this potato girl. And I don't know if that's a very specific fear, but having your limbs cut off and all of that, like, that's really scary to me. Not
Yeah,
being able to move. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Butterfly Effect. But Butterfly Effect was hilarious. It was like Butterfly Effect, but it was hilarious. Uh, uh, do you remember me and Joe? Were we talking about this earlier, or maybe I was talking about it with Taylor? Loopers, where the guy is like slowly losing his body parts because they're going back in time and like
Oh.
like chopping up the younger version of
Yes. Yes, Looper.
him,
Yep. hmm
like falling apart. That creeped me the hell out. And then, Malik, one of the most recent scariest like things that I had seen in a while was that scene from Game of Thrones where what's his name, Tyrion, where like he wakes
Tyrion.
up, he's been tortured for like like however long. He wakes up and those two girls are like seducing him.
Oh, Theon.
Oh, Theon. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's his name. Do you remember that scene? Like that? That's
Yes.
obviously, of course, you remember that. Every guy remembers that scene.
Yeah, I remember that scene.
But that was so scary because you knew that something so horrible was going to happen to him. And so when I heard that horn go off, it just confirmed like all that fear that I had. And then of course what happened to him was horrific. But yeah, just that the time when he was just like making out with the girls and they were slowly seducing him, that was really scary, I thought.
Mm. Well, yeah, all of those fears are definitely valid, and they come from valid places. So yeah, and they're relatively normal. The fear of heights and enclosed spaces. I do have a general fear of enclosed spaces. I'm always highly aware of where I am on an elevator whenever I'm in an elevator. I generally like to stand close to the door on a train, or at least within the vicinity of the door. I do not like being in the middle of a train car, far away from those doors. I really do not enjoy it at all. I don't have a fear of heights, although I do have a fear of being up high without support. So something along those lines. I guess that's just a natural fear of falling. I don't have a fear of heights, but I do have a fear of falling. So the moon door actually does kind of bother me a little bit. When we watch that in Game of Thrones, just that fear of that open space and there's nothing holding you back. So you could conceivably a slight trip could conceivably be the end of your day. And so I have had that dream where you're falling and falling and falling and you don't know and you never actually stop. So that's actually one of my fears. And funny, and I actually also have, I don't know, I do have a fear or some people call it a fear. I just don't trust snakes at all. I am not a fan of snakes. I don't trust them. I don't believe. I believe that they are out to murder humanity or murder me specifically, and so I do not like being near them, around them, or yeah, I don't like being anywhere close to them. Funny story is I was walking in Times Square, and you guys know Times Square is a place where people just have all kinds of stuff just kind of out. You've got the naked cowboy and the naked cowgirl, and people have their trying to make a buck, so they're trying to get you to take a picture with my pet iguana or whatever. So one moment I'm walking in Times Square with a few friends of mine, and I'm having a conversation, and I'm talking, and I'm not realizing that we're getting ready to walk into the path of this guy who is holding one of those yellow pythons, I guess, and he's like getting people to take pictures with him with the python and everything like that. And my friends, of course, they know I have this fear, and my friends, they're not telling me anything. They're just going to let me walk into this thing, and I'm not noticing that it's there. And so as we continue walking, I get probably about 6 feet away from this guy holding this python when I turn and I realize that this is the man in front of me, and this is what is getting ready. I don't think I've never let out a higher pitched scream than that, and to this day, I think that my friends still to this day tell me like I literally sounded like one of those women from the horror movies when I got that close to that snake. And the snake didn't do anything. The snake was just sitting on the guy's shoulder, I guess just hanging out. But you get me that close to a snake, and it's going to be a really big problem. I'm going to punch, I'm going to scream, I'm going to kick. I'm getting the hell away from that thing because I don't trust it. It's going to kill me. So those would be my 3.
You should have said snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Yeah, no, I am definitely, yeah, and that scene, funny enough, that scene in Indiana Jones, in the very first Indiana Jones movie when he goes. Was it The Last Crusade?
It wasn't The Last Crusade. It was the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's where he got his fear of snakes.
Yeah, that's where my fear resonates. I believe that's where it came from, because I don't remember being afraid of snakes before seeing that movie.
That's how I feel about Shamu now.
Oh God, you're not going to SeaWorld anytime soon.
Oh yeah, I was like, this changes my whole point of view, like about SeaWorld.
It's funny because I'm not afraid of like sharks, and Jaws. Jaws, was definitely one of the scariest movies, especially of its time. I'm not afraid of sharks at all, but snakes, yeah, they don't. I don't trust those damn things.
Well, now that you mentioned sharks, you know what situation I would find really scary? Have you guys ever seen the movie Open Water?
Oh gosh, yes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, Joe, where like you have to choose, like basically it's like you can live as long as as long as your will allows you, or somebody else can live as long as you can hold on. Yeah, exactly what I'm talking about.
Nobody's living in that situation.
No.
I mean, it's because I like to snorkel and do that kind of stuff, and when I saw that, I was like, man, that is some scary shit. You get left out there on a boat in the middle of the ocean. You have no chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
You literally have no chance.
Absolutely. Open Water 2 was nowhere near as scary.
I never even saw Open Water 2.
I didn't even know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same premise, but this time it happens to like a group of vacationers, like kids have a boat or something like that, and it just happens to a group of them where they all wind up out on the water, and no one thought to throw the what do you call it, the
anchor?
Not the anchor, the ladder. There's a ladder where you can climb back up the ladder to get. Yeah, nobody throws the ladder over. Everybody jumps in the water, and nobody throws the ladder over, so they can't actually get back on the boat. So the boat's there. And
oh my God, that's even worse.
Yeah, the boat is right there, and actually, the worst part is like one of them has a kid, and the baby was sleeping when they went to go jump in the water, and then the baby wakes up, and so they can't, so they can hear the baby crying on the boat, but they can't get onto the boat to save, to be with their baby or whatever. So
It's a nightmare.
yeah, it's like it's really like it's one of those movies where, I mean, to me, Open Water, the original, was really really scary, but that one was like a moment where you're just dreading it. Like I wasn't afraid of it. I just felt really bad.
Those
for the
people
mother
just
and the
sound
child.
stupid. That's what they sound.
They set it up in a way that kind of made it seem like it could very well happen.
I could see it happening, but it's just like you got the boat right there, and now you can't even get back on it.
Yeah, and so every attempt to try to get back on it, every attempt to try to do anything just turns out bad, horribly for everyone.
Wow.
So yeah, it's if you get a chance to see it, but it definitely doesn't invoke the same types of fear that the original Open Water does. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
So the next topic that we're going to go into, yeah, what's up, Lorenzo?
Orcas or whales? Not sure.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
So
Right.
our next topic that we're going to go to is scary movie franchises. So I'm going to give out a list of scary movie franchises, and I want you guys to pick one or two of the franchises to discuss. And you're going to just let me know, like, what did you like about them? Of these 20, what are your favorites? What's great about it? What would you like to have seen? And a quick question: what franchise do you think you'd have the best chance of surviving in? So we're gonna go with Halloween, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Final Destination, Hellraiser, the Hannibal Lecter series, Nightmare on Elm Street, Night of the Living Dead, The Grudge, I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Blair Witch series, Child's Play, Paranormal Activity, Alien, Evil Dead, Poltergeist, Friday the 13th, Scream, Saw, Leprechaun, and the last one, Wreck. So if some of these movies you may not have seen, hopefully you've seen enough of them that you can make an informed opinion. So Johanna, let's start with you. Which one of these franchises do you like the best, and which one do you think you would survive in?
I think, and I only saw the first movie of this, but it scared the crap out of me. Paranormal Activity.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that one. I know that there's been a lot of like cinema verite type, like, everything's on the camera, and that's kind of been done. But this is like surveillance camera, so that's a little different.
Yep.
And it was genuinely scary. I think that it's sort of in the spirit of kind of what Blair Witch was doing, because I also really like the original Blair Witch, in terms of the fact that you don't see what's going on most of the time. You're
Right.
just hearing noises and sounds, and you're hearing their reactions, and it's terrifying. And then at the end, of course, I really liked it. And it is a jump out of your seat moment, is that last scene where, like, she kills, did they pick the ending where she kills the guy? I don't remember. But like she's like shows her teeth or something, and that's where it ends.
Yeah, there's a couple of endings where.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe there's a couple of different endings depending upon when you saw the movie. But yeah, there is definitely an ending where she kills the guy and she like jumps into the camera and like screams or something like that.
Yeah.
He runs away or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that movie had multiple endings. Paranormal Activity. I never saw
it did. There was a different. There was an ending that came with the theatrical version, and then of course an ending an ending on the DVD version.
Okay.
And depending upon when you saw it, depending upon which one you saw, the ending had a completely different feel to it.
Yeah, like there's the other ending. She kills herself, right?
Well, in the other ending, she kills him, but she kills him off camera.
Oh.
You don't actually see her kill him.
Mm-hmm.
You basically she runs out or something like that, or she leaves the room, and then her boyfriend runs after her, fiance runs after her, and the camera is actually in their bedroom. You hear him saying something to her, then you hear him scream, and then the next scene you see her come up the steps, and she just sits she just sits down next to the bed, and she's sitting there and sitting there and sitting there, and like she just sits there completely still for God knows how long. It must have been days. She was just sitting there, not moving
Oh
completely.
yeah.
And then at some point in time, I guess the police come, or there's no somebody comes to the house to check on them because they hadn't heard from them for a while, and then they leave, but they never come upstairs. And then they leave, and then like sometime later, the police come, and when the police come, you see they come into the master bedroom. She's sitting there, and then that's when she attacks them, and then you hear them shoot her. And that's how that ends. So I think that because they were maybe considering doing more movies, they didn't release that ending. That ending wasn't the ending that was in theaters, because then you would kill off one of the characters that you wanted to show in the next film. So
Paranormal Activity. What? I mean, I never saw it. Is it about what you call it? Like a demon taking over a body, possession, or something like that?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they I know, Johanna, you said you only saw the first movie of it. They made it into they kind of fleshed it out and gave it more of a story and a background. I think the very first one, kind of what Johanna was saying, was it was so random. Things that were happening were just so random, and there was no explanation for them, that's what kind of made it so creepy. I think the subsequent films tried to give context to the first movie, which is why, to me, they weren't although they were still creepy because of those moments, they weren't as bad as the original movie. The original movie really, like...
That's my gripe with franchises in general, especially ones that are kind of tacked on after a movie is successful. It's like, to me, what's scary is like not having that context. It's just this random stuff going on, you know?
Right.
So, are the people aware that this is happening?
They do become aware. Not in the beginning. There's always in most horror movies, there's always that one character that thinks something's crazy is going on, and then the rest of the people on the movie are like, no, you're crazy. You're just being crazy. You're just it's not really happening, or what have you. And then eventually the things that were happening to that first person starts happening to everyone, and the reaction is like, oh, well, maybe she was right. Maybe she wasn't going crazy, and this was really happening and everything. Is
this after that person dies, and then they go, oh,
not after they die,
right?
but like something happens, it starts happening to everybody. Like, so
yeah. That's when it's time to get the hell out the house.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's when it's time.
Pretty much, yeah. But that's the problem of most of these movies is like, when the kid tells you that, hey, Daddy, there's somebody under my bed, go check under the bed because there might actually be something there.
I always think about, like, I don't know if you guys ever saw the first Eddie Murphy Delirious, or the first stand-up Eddie Murphy, where he like makes fun of the people in Amityville Horror, like, hey, the walls are bleeding, that's peculiar. And they stay in the freaking house. No. There's blood coming down the walls. Get the hell out.
Yep.
Go.
So Joe, what about you, Joe? Do you have a franchise that of these that kind of stood out for you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these I really like. I mean, I like Halloween, especially the first two. Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, the first like 4 or 5, because you just can't get enough of co-eds getting killed in a campground, because you just can't get enough.
That's great.
But the one that I probably like the most is probably Saw. It turned out to be gore porn later on as the movie started going on, but I think the very first Saw was so well done. I mean, it was people trapped in that one room, and to find out this guy was in the room the whole time, laying dead on the floor.
Spoiler alert.
Well, if you haven't seen Saw yet, too bad. The movie's 10 years old. Yeah, I mean, it was good. I thought the first couple were good. I like the one with Donnie Wahlberg where where he tells him, I forget, I think that's the third one, I'm not sure, but where he tells him, if you just sit in that chair, your son will appear in 3 or 4 hours, whatever it was. And Donnie Wahlberg was just pissed off. He's like, I'm going to the house now. And lo and behold, the kid was in the room with him the whole time. All he had to do was wait the 3 hours, and the kid would have came out from this safe in the wall or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was. They're like really smart and inventive. I like the way they go about it in Saw. I think they're done with it. I don't. They haven't come out. They were like coming out year after year. Every one a year for like 5 years.
Yep.
They haven't done one in a while. But I thought they were done well. They were smart. I wish they could have continued that. Another one that I liked, which they recently did, made the fourth one, is Scream. I thought Scream was good. Scream started out as a parody, not a parody in the vein of like Scary Movie by the Wayans brothers, but it was a parody of horror films and the rules that horror films follow. So like if the only way you're gonna live is if you're a virgin, right? So like the virgin girl lives all the time, and the ones who aren't die grisly deaths. So I really like Scream. I like the sequels. I thought they were done well. Maybe not 3 so much, but this last one, the fourth one, was pretty good.
Yeah, it was. I did like it too.
Yeah. So I like it because it's smart, it's funny, it's scary. It has everything you want. So those are my 2.
Lorenzo?
So if we're looking at the whole franchise, then I would have to go with honestly, the Hannibal Lecter series. I think there have been 3 of them, right? There was the one about the dragon one. There was went back in time. I don't know. There's been a few.
Yeah, there's 4 of them. 4.
I think there's 4. Yeah, I think there's 4.
So I think I've seen 3 of them, and all of those they definitely had parts to them that creep me out. None of them, of course, are going to be as good as the first one, but yeah, I found the sequels to be satisfying, in my opinion. So I would put that on a list. Because your question is what's good, right?
What's your of those, like which one stands out for you?
So yeah, as far as franchises go, I would say that one is good. Mm-hmm. As far as so Alien, some of those movies were out there, but I never really saw an Alien movie that I didn't like. Yeah, even was it the fourth one that got really crazy, and then the third one was they were in the when they were in the prison, or they were on the prison planet. Again, it probably is because of my childhood and the fact that whole franchise got stamped on me pretty early. So as far as good ones, of course, Evil Dead is great. That was only, I guess it was 2, right? It was like 3 movies if you count the first one. All those are pretty good. Now, but if you're looking at the whole franchise, Halloween, there were some really awful ones, really awful. Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play. I would agree with Joe on Scream. I wouldn't call it a parody so much as an homage, because I think they really do celebrate horror movies in a way that really plays on it stays scary even though it's funny, which I really appreciate. That ability to do that. And then I guess we have some other things to talk about with what's missing, right?
Well, if there was anything glaring that's missing from one of these, anything that you thought that would have made a series that maybe wasn't so great, something that could have been epic.
So, I don't, Insidious, the first one was pretty good. They came out with the second one. I didn't see that one. I'm interested. The way the first one ended, and the dad is in the second one, was really I'm interested in seeing that movie, but I haven't.
Go check it. It's very good. It's very good.
The the Human Centipede 2 is, everybody says it's like really good. I haven't seen it. It's supposed to be really scary though.
Staying away from it.
Yeah, that's basically a
you tell
guy.
me.
It's kind of like a copycat guy that then is like doing sort of like a real life documentary about, I don't know. I've never seen it, so I can't really talk. And then I guess Hostel. Have you guys seen the Hostel series?
Yep.
Yes.
Did you know there was another sequel to Phantasm, Joe?
Yes, there's like 3 of them, 4 of them.
Yeah, so that's something that's missing. I don't. The first one like scared me when I was a kid. I think some of them I thought were boring. I think I remember thinking they were boring.
Yeah, I don't think I saw past Phantasm 2.
Yeah, yeah. There's. Has anybody seen Psycho 2?
Yes.
Long time ago. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that movie was pretty good. And Psycho 1 is of course like one of the original
Classic. Yeah.
classic horror movies.
But in Psycho 2, when he smacked her with the shovel at the end, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah. If you're gonna go with the old school though, what about The Bride of Frankenstein? That would make that a franchise, I guess, because they had Frankenstein and they had The Bride of Frankenstein. Bride of Frankenstein was pretty scary, I thought.
Now, question, Lorenzo: do you consider a franchise to be 2 movies or more than 2?
Well, I was looking at your stuff here, and yeah, I guess they're all more than 2, right?
Oh, I tried to go with
2 Blair Witch projects.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I think there's only the 2. I've only seen the 2.
There's more than one wreck.
Yes, there's 3 of
Yes.
those.
And yeah, so yeah, I don't know. So yeah, maybe not. But The Exorcist, however, there was 3 of those.
Yep.
And the first one horrifies me. Like I am actually afraid to watch the movie. Like I'm afraid of like putting the movie into my DVD player.
What?
I am pretty I mean, this might sound stupid, but I'm pretty sure that movie is like cursed.
I found it very boring, to be honest.
I'm sorry. Which film is this?
The Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
Oh, yeah, it was really boring.
Yeah, I found it very boring. It was probably because I watched it in the 90s, and I just found it boring. I didn't find it scary at all.
I think The Exorcist is the one movie that is one of those movies that can legitimately still scare kids or young people at a young age. And once once you've seen, I think also the exorcism thing has been done so much that it takes away from the impact of that film in a way as well.
Well, because in 1973 when it came out, it was like
I don't think you guys are
something
hearing.
new.
I'm not saying necessarily that like the movie is. I mean, the movie is scary. Like, there's definitely some parts in it that are like really, really creepy. But I'm talking about the movie itself. Like the film, I think is like literally cursed.
The actual film. I see
what you mean.
You own the DVD. So why'd you buy the DVD, Lorenzo?
Like, so I think at least 2 people died making the movie. One,
Poltergeist.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you want to talk cursed films, Poltergeist is cursed.
Yeah, somebody died in the sequel, right? Was it helicopter accident?
No, that was the Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah.
Vic Morrow died, and now, but the Poltergeist, I believe the older sister, she got killed. The little girl died. And who else? There was some bad luck associated with that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's how. So maybe that is true for Poltergeist, but that's definitely how I feel about The Exorcist. My dog died. Remember they re-released it back in like, I don't know, must have been like around 2000, 2001. They re-released it in the theaters, and we were gonna go see it. And on our way to go see it, my dog got ran over by a truck. And that was just like one example. Like my brother is like horrified of that movie, and there was like some weird stuff that happened when we were trying to watch it together one time. Yeah, that movie is just like bad news.
Well, Lorenzo, you lived in D.C. Did you ever go actually see the house where they filmed it?
I did. Yeah. Me and some friends back in high school.
Yeah. It's right off the canal. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
But the second one I think was, I don't remember too well, but the third one creeped me the hell out. The third Exorcist movie was really scary for me
I
when I was a
never
kid.
saw
I
that
saw
one.
that in high school, I think. That would be another one that is not on your list.
What were you going to say, Johanna?
Oh, just that apparently there are some like of a curse. Like apparently like some of the sets had to be rebuilt because they like lit on fire, and they actually did have a priest brought in numerous times to bless the set. Although it wasn't an old priest and a young priest, it was just a priest apparently.
You're talking about The Exorcist.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The harness broke on the bed when Linda Blair was thrashing on it, and she got injured. And it seems like people just got injured, and then one actor died during filming, but I don't believe that it was.
No, 6 people associated with The Exorcist died either during the
Really?
production or prior to the release of the movie.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. Surprisingly, a movie I still
Everybody.
haven't sat down and watched in its entirety. Sorry.
You're not missing much now. We were so. I mean, when the movie came out in 1973, it was a big deal. But now we're so desensitized to that stuff. You will find it boring.
I would suggest at least seeing the making of The Exorcist. That would give you like some serious appreciation for the film. Like, there's a part
Okay.
where they're actually doing the exorcism, and you know, they have the 2 priests there, and it just suddenly gets really cold in the room, and so you can see their breath. You know what I'm talking about, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was before like CGI and stuff, and plus the director was crazy, so like they locked them in like a deep freezer, room, and they were in there for like hours doing this shot with like temperature being like 30 degrees, and I mean like you see the tension in that room, and it's because these people are like freezing to death, and there's so it's like crazy stuff like that happens throughout the whole movie, and you see that in the making of the film. So I would suggest watching that at the very least, because it's
I'll
very.
give it a look. I'll definitely give it a look. So real quick before we jump to the next topic, is there any one of these that you guys think you would survive, that you would be able to
Okay,
survive?
just like I'm gonna second what Joe said.
Yep.
And the minute you give me an option where I can leave, I'm gone. So Poltergeist, I survive Poltergeist because as soon as weird shit starts happening, I am out. I am done. Like, if I was that brother or the sister of, I love Drew Barrymore. It's Drew Barrymore, right? Is it in
No. Drew Barrymore was not a poltergeist.
She's in everything as far as I'm concerned. She should be. Anyway, my little sister gets sucked up by the TV. I am not in that house anymore. I'm sorry. I love
Lorenzo, you gotta be a man. Change the channels. Do
I
something.
love
Try to
you.
get it back.
Goodbye. It's been nice. We had some good memories. I am not staying in this house anymore. So, yeah, and I think Scream, I think it was the same kind of thing. Maybe they kind of got stuck in the neighborhood or something, but I'm pretty sure they sort of had the chance to leave. And the Hannibal Lecter series, I would survive that because I would not give Hannibal any reason to not like me. The only people that die in those Hannibal movies are people that are dicks. And so I told you, ass, not dick. I won't I won't be rude to Hannibal. I won't do anything that's, like gonna set him off. So I'm surviving the Hannibal Lecter series. I'm surviving Poltergeist. Maybe Scream.
Johanna, what about you?
I like Lorenzo's thinking because I was thinking Blair Witch because I will not go in the woods. Hey, you want to go in the woods, shoot a documentary about a witch? Hell no! You're out of your mind. You're literally saying, let's record in the woods where there might be a witch. Get the fuck out of town. So, I have a very, very strong survival instinct, and I think I would definitely survive that one just by not going in the woods with my stupid friends.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that, Johanna. I do not think you would go. I don't know about the leprechaun, but I kind of think I could take Chucky.
Joe, what about you?
Yeah, I was gonna go with Leprechaun because I'm not letting some 3-foot dude beat me up or kill me. It's just not happening.
Leprechaun, though,
He's
Joe.
got, he's
It's
got
not
magic-
happening.
He's got powers.
magic-
I don't remember him using powers in that movie. I remember him
him
jumping out and saying some Irish sayings and stabbing somebody, or something like that. I don't remember any like "Saints be praised" and chopping you up. No, I don't know. Top of the morning to you. I don't remember too much of that, but trying to think here. Which ones? Definitely Paranormal Activity because I'm not hanging around. That's definite. I see some shit sliding across the floor or lights coming on and off. I'm leaving the house. There's no doubt about it.
Later.
I'm out of there. Yeah, you notice in none of these movies, there aren't any minorities in these movies that stay in the house. I'm out. Let me see
Well, I mean,
here.
it was. I can't remember which movie it was, but it was a relatively recent film where there was a family, and I think maybe it came out last year, where there was a family and the kids started seeing things and telling the father or telling the parents that they were seeing these things, and the parents didn't. I don't think the parents saw it, or the parents hadn't they hadn't seen everything that the kids were talking about. But one of the problems that they ran into was that the father had sunk all of his money into buying this home.
Right.
He had purchased, and this
That
was
was like
the home that
Amityville, wasn't it?
yeah,
Amityville Horror?
it might have been Amityville, but I know there was a recent movie that came out where this was a dynamic, and so the staying in the house actually wound up. There was one moment where he was like, they would leave, but he's like, we have nowhere to go, and on top of that, they had like 7 kids, so he couldn't like move and go stay with family because no one's gonna take in a family with 7 kids. Like that was what he was saying, and so they wound up staying in the house, trying to get around the situation or trying to find a way to beat it, just because they had nowhere else to go. So I understand where you're coming from, Joe, but that I thought that movie, and I can't remember the name of it right now. It was, a matter of fact, it came out last year. And it was a movie about like ghosts in a house, or a ghost that was like tormenting a neighborhood or something like that, and this house was built on the neighborhood.
It's either die or stay in the house. Yeah, I'll be living in a hotel.
Well, I mean, not for nothing.
Does it have Eddie Murphy in it?
No. It wasn't definitely not a comedy. It was The Conjuring. There you go, The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. Oh no,
Yeah,
I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
This ain't. I don't know if any of your kids watch these shows, but my daughter watches the Haunted Hathaways, where the people who live in the house get along with the ghosts and everything. It's
It
like
ain't happening.
yeah, no.
It's like
I'm
the
gone.
end of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I'm gone.
Malik, another one we didn't have was Amityville. So that's the situation I know it's in the situation, at least in the remake that came out in 2005 with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
They can't leave because they put all their money into the house.
Yeah.
And then he kills the whole family, which is a true story.
You need to find your way out. There's another movie you're missing here is The Omen. I don't know if you guys remember The Omen.
Yeah.
But the kid, Damien Omen.
Little Damien.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I omitted.
No, I mean, there's no.
some
You
for-
can't write them all down, but
Yeah, I omitted some. I omitted some on purpose, just to hope that in the hopes that you guys would mention some of them. So you have, which is great.
Can you imagine there was a time though when like Damien was like not a bad name to have, Like there was a time when Damien wasn't a creepy name.
still a lot of people named Damien. But you just think about especially in the '80s when all those movies were popular, the Omen
Creepy
series.
name, Joe. Damien
I mean-
is a creepy name.
Well, as long as you ain't naming your kid Lucifer, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, pretty much.
all right. I mean, trying to think of another one here I could survive. Texas Chainsaw. I ain't stopping by and asking nobody for directions.
That's the one I said I would have definitely.
I'm not asking for no direct. I'm not stopping in a gas station that has one pump. I'm not stopping. Okay, I'm not stopping where these people are. Hillbilly, have no teeth or whatever. I'm not stopping.
The second I see that, we're going. We're leaving. We're leaving. We got
First
no
off,
reason to
I'm
stick
not
around
going to
here.
be in that area. That's number one. I'm not going in those areas. So, those people like in what was that movie with Eliza Dushku? Was it Wrong Turn?
Yeah, Wrong Turn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I ain't gonna end up in that area.
Did you get your GPS?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not ending up there.
especially nowadays, there's no reason.
I know Hellraiser I'm not going to survive because I think basically they just take you to hell. And
That's
yeah,
what
some of these you ain't
Pinhead,
making it
right?
out of.
What's his name? Pinhead?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just throw some cushions on the dude, man. You be all right.
Take you to hell. Like, what are you going to do? You're
Throw
in
some
hell.
cushions on him. You be okay, man. You
How do
can
you get
survive
out of
that.
hell, Joe?
Huh?
You're in hell. How do you get out of hell? No, there's no
Be
getting
good.
out.
Be good.
That's true. Hey, that's everybody goes to church. Millions of people go to church every single Sunday to do exactly that, Lorenzo.
Yeah. Now, Final
To avoid
Destination.
hell.
Final Destination. I don't know how those kids do it. How to outsmart death when death is coming for you. Yeah. No, that's tough. And all these other ones like Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. You're trying to avoid slashers, and that's really hard to do.
Yeah, it is. Especially if they're coming after you, they're coming after you. I thought the Final Destination ones were interesting because, like, since when does Death have a trailer, and how does only one person gets to see Death's trailer? It's like, how does Death keep messing this up? What agent of Death is sitting there like, damn it, I did it again? like, why the hell do you guys? I was just getting ready to blow up that plane. Okay, stop giving these guys the opportunity to freaking see to have the vision. Why is somebody sending the vision down? So I
got a question.
That brings up a good question, Malik. Why is the kid getting a vision? Right, he has the gift of getting a vision. Yet now he's got to pay the price for getting that vision and being able to avoid the accident.
Because he wasn't supposed to get the vision. He wasn't supposed to get the vision in the first place. It was a mistake. It was a computer glitch. It was a computer glitch.
Now Death has to fix its mistake.
Exactly. It was a computer glitch. There's a virus. There's clearly a virus in Death's computer, and it keeps sending this damn image down to people, and then he has to go and clean it up, just like any other mistake.
Malik, here's a question for everybody. Do y'all think you could survive Saw?
Oh God, Saw's so complicated.
It is. It's tough.
It's really
too difficult. I think it depends on what you're being asked to do.
Are you willing to do it no matter what?
Yeah.
I think Malik might survive Saw.
I think that. Well, I watched. I don't know if you guys. I don't remember which one it was. Where, but it was the one where Megan Good was in it. I don't remember which one that one was. But basically, each one, they were like sacrificing each other, or they were sacrificing one to try to make it to the next part. And they get to the end of the film, and they find out that had they worked together as a group, they would have been able to make it through without any of them really inflicting some serious bodily harm. Like they would have had to just find a way to work together as a group, and they could have made it all the way to the end. When instead they were like killing each other and trying to outsmart each other to get to the end and it wound up at the end where they wound up having to like lose body parts and stuff like that because they didn't have enough people.
I saw that one.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Was that the one with Julie Benz? That's the one with Julie Benz, the girl from Dexter. Also.
She might have been. Yeah, I only remember Megan Good being in it because I didn't want to see it because she was in it, and then I wound up seeing it anyway later on.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it, but I was like, damn, that probably made sense. They could have survived it.
All the Saw movies are like that. You could get away. Essentially, you could, if it weren't for somebody's, people being impatient and all this stuff, you could literally get through Saw without anybody dying because he gives you the way out.
Do you think you could do it, Joe?
I don't know. You have, those people are so rattled. Just like in the very first one, he has the key to the cuffs, but when he gets out of the tub, because it's dark, he gets up and the key goes down the drain. So that guy's screwed no matter what.
I know you got to keep it
right from the beginning.
Yeah, I think that was probably the only one where there was just no way out because of that. There was no way for him to know when he got out of that tub that key was the key to his salvation, basically, and it went down the drain.
Yeah, but that was kind of like a setup where there was no way that guy could win. He didn't know the key was in the bathtub.
Exactly.
I mean, and then he got up and then it goes down the drain. So,
Right.
And that happens like in the first 2 minutes of the movie.
Right.
So they're screwed for the rest of the movie. But
See, the thing with Hannibal is just as a general policy, you don't mess with a person who eats people. So like if you're like his guard, or if you're your psychologist, or if you're like you be nice and polite to the guy that eats people. That's just general rule.
Yeah, but none of the movies were actually about Hannibal, really. Which one was about Hannibal? Silence of the Lambs wasn't really about Hannibal.
He did have a body count. He killed
he had a body count in his escape, but it was catching Billy Budd, whatever that guy's name.
He killed a guy just by talking to him, and he made the guy swallow his own tongue.
Right.
And he killed he made that one dude in his face. I think he fed somebody to pigs.
Lorenzo, Johanna was gonna chime in. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
I think the thing is with Hannibal, because I mean I do agree, pissing off the cannibal is probably a very good strategy, but at the same time, like if you're his guard or anything like that, he will find some way to fuck with you. No. And he will play mind games, and he is way better at the mind games than anybody. Yeah. Like Jodie Foster was nice to him. Like she wanted something from him, but she was nice to him, and he totally fucked with her.
But he wouldn't have killed her. I think
Lorenzo therapy. He was helping her.
I think Lorenzo has a good point. I think Lorenzo has a good point in the sense that you don't poke the bear. Just get in the cage. You know, don't feed the animals. Don't poke the bear. Don't go ooh ah to the monkey. Leave it alone. It won't bother you. Okay, that's the plain and simple thing of it. Leave him where he is. Don't touch him. Don't bother him. He won't bother you, and you're fine. But Joe, one thing, if you remember in Saw, I don't think that the killer or the jigsaw guy, because at the end he actually tells the reporter that the key is in the bathtub, right? So I don't think he probably didn't even realize, or didn't, maybe he didn't know.
I thought it went down the drain like in the first 2 minutes.
It did. No, it does go down the drain in the first 2 minutes. But as you remember, the guy's laying on the floor. When he gets up, he tells the guy that the key to this thing is in the bathtub, because I think that his issue was with the doctor.
Right.
So when the doctor gets up and gets out, and he's pretty much won the game or whatever, he tells the reporter guy or the photographer guy, he tells him that the key is in the bathtub. So I don't think that there was a.
Yeah, I don't think that was set up by then, or sawed his foot off.
No, but the reporter guy never sawed his foot off.
The reporter guy didn't saw his foot off, but he died, didn't he?
Right, he basically dies over starvation and over time because he could never get away. He was stuck. He was basically stuck there.
And Carrie Elways
died. Yeah, you find out Carrie Elways' character dies.
He dies right after he opens the door because he lost so much blood.
Out. Yeah, trying to crawl up, trying to crawl to safety or whatever. He dies. But I'm just saying, like, it doesn't seem like in Saw the key going down the drain was actually a planned thing. It just kind of was one of those things that happened because the killer does tell the guy, hey, you can get out. The key's in the bathtub. And that's when the guy realizes that the key went down the drain and he can't actually leave now. So, but yeah, so I want to get to our third topic, real quick. I don't want to spend too much time because I want everybody to have a good night. But our third topic is all about the current zombie epidemic that we have in Hollywood. So since the AMC's Walking Dead began, and not just the AMC's version, but the version that was in the comic books, it seems like there are those that speak of the zombie apocalypse as if there's some new and fresh phenomenon. And it's actually, as we've all known, it's actually been around for a very, very long time. And although it's largely used to invoke fear in audiences over the years, some have used the zombie takeovers and related it to comedy, so in a movie like Shaun of the Dead, while others have actually gone the route of the teen angst drama, and with that you could use the most recent movie called Warm Bodies, using zombies in a teen drama setting. But needless to say, the zombie stories have been at the forefront of our horror psyche for a very long time. So I wanted to kind of delve into not just zombie movies, but the zombie versus vampire phenomenon. And obviously, Joe, I know you have your own opinions on the zombie versus vampire stuff, but I want to know what do you guys think as far as which phenomenon is going to fade faster, or have they both actually reached their peak, and are they both going to fall sooner rather than later? Johanna, what's your thoughts on that?
Ooh, how much time do we have?
Not much.
I know. I'm a huge vampire buff. I have been since Interview with the Vampire, and I read that when I was like 10 or 11. I feel like there are iterations of vampires. I tend to go more towards the Anne Rice vampire. For some reason, this whole time I've been thinking about Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder and
Don't leave out Keanu Reeves.
Who?
Leave out Keanu. Come on.
I try to forget his terrible British accent. It was really distracting.
I don't think it was a British accent. He was American, wasn't he?
No, he was supposed to be British.
Horrible.
Yeah, it was a horrible accent. But like that kind of style, and I think that that's been in vogue since like the 1800s, right?
Mm-hmm.
The current iteration of vampires kind of like, oh god, like Twilight, and to some extent the Sookie Stackhouse novels, although they're a little better, where they're kind of trying to like put, like, I don't know what it is, it just really bothers me. I think that is running its course just because I think there are a lot of issues within each of them. They're just not, they're not lush enough. Like, I mean, I would talk about my friend Susan Jang. Hey, I gave you a shout out. Just about how much more richness and depth there is to like the other phases of vampires. Zombies, I think that there's still something terrifying about something mindless coming towards you and eating you. And I think that this iteration of vampires is going to fade. I think that vampires as a genre is going to continue to be rather strong. I mean, there's the show Penny Dreadful. I haven't watched it yet, but that has
vampire zombies.
It has vampire zombies in it?
It has a mixture. I mean, I think what Lorenzo means, there's a mixture of everybody in there.
Yeah.
No, what I mean is that it's got like vampire zombies.
It does have vampire zombies.
Aren't vampires dead anyway? So wouldn't all vampires be zombies?
They're mindless vampires that will just attack you.
I guess it's kind of like all vampires are zombies, but not all zombies are vampires.
Venn diagram. But what I wanted to say, bringing up Penny Dreadful, is that goes back to kind of like this Baroque, Victorian, kind of bodice ripping vampire. Same thing with the Dracula series that came out that I think was canceled.
It was.
Yeah. But I think that will stay strong. I think zombies, there's a whole lot of richness to zombies. I think that taps into this fear that's in our zeitgeist of the apocalypse, of not having enough food, of having to survive, of a breakdown of society, because there's a lot of hints of that we're getting fed and we're learning about through the media.
So Joe, what about yourself? Where do you lean? I kind of know where you lean, but I just want to get your idea on where do you think the whole zombie vampire phenomenon is going.
I agree with Johanna. I think the vampire, this current iteration of vampires is going to fade soon, and it can't fade soon enough. With True Blood ending this year, Twilight done. What's that show on the CW?
Oh, Vampire Diaries.
Vampire Diaries. I hope that ends pretty soon.
That one's obnoxious too.
Uh, yeah, I don't like this whole romantic vampire deal. I dealt with it in True Blood because True Blood had a lot of other things going on besides the vampires. But like stuff like Twilight and the what's the show again? Vampire Diaries and the new one that just came out, the originals, which unfortunately did get renewed. Yeah, it's time for it to go. Zombies are here to stay for a while. Zombies have been around, as well as the vampire movies, but the vampire movies always change. I mean, they're romantic, or they're hunting, or they're being hunted, But the zombie film is pretty much usually the same. It's all of a sudden, you're in an area, you're surrounded by zombies, whether it's chemical induced or something along those lines where people just start changing. They're all the same. The only difference is maybe like in an instance like 28 Days, where the zombies can run and jump, or like in World War Z where they're jumping around and they're pretty quick. There's different iterations of them, but technically it's all basically the same.
Right.
You're trying to survive. You're breaking up into groups. Your people are banding together and trying to, ward off the undead. So I think zombies are here to stay for a while.
Yeah. So it appears that the zombie movie, and you guys are kind of pointing to it, is about more than just zombies. Whereas the vampire movie is pretty much the vampire is the centralized character in the vampire film, and the characters take on a life of their own, and the zombies you can kind of just do hordes and hordes and hordes of them and keep it going. So Lorenzo, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We talked about I think when we were talking about comic book heroes, and we were talking about like comic book heroes that you would want to be versus comic book heroes that you wouldn't want to be because of whatever, like say It or the Thing from Fantastic Four. Like you wouldn't want to be him, but I think that dynamic is similar to what we're talking about here, where it's vampires represent sort of a fantasy of immortality and sexuality, and like whereas zombies are the thing you don't want to be. Nobody wants to be a zombie.
Absolutely. So Lorenzo, I didn't want you to answer this question because I wanted you to I wanted to give you the scenario, the zombie scenario that I kind of put forth. I wanted to see where you would go with your answer. So I have a quick scenario, and I will read it. I'll read it out for you now, and then you give me your answer. And what we will do, what Johanna, myself, and Joe will do, is respond to your answers and react to what you come up with. So the scenario is this: the dead have risen and begun to walk the earth and attack people in the streets. You are in your home with your immediate family when the alert comes on the television. You have two choices: stay in your home and protect yourself and family for as long as you can, or go out in an attempt to get to a safe zone as identified in the news, which is roughly 100 miles away from the epicenter of the disaster, it being New York City, since that's where we are located. Number one, what will you do? Number two, if you stay home, how would you protect your house? What would you use? What are the kinds of things that you would use to protect your home? And number three, if you do decide to go out and find safety, what would you bring with you? You're only one person, so what would you bring with you from your home right now to protect you in the zombie apocalypse?
But is this like what's that movie called, The Road or whatever, where it's you and your family are having a go?
Well, it's you and your immediate. So for you, it would just be you and your son, possibly, maybe a sister or brother if you have immediate relatives that would be with you.
Me and him. So like, I've given this a lot of thought, like way before you asked me this question, and
of course.
It's amazing. It's clear that you had this has been on your mind. So
no, yeah, because obviously you gotta get out of New York. Like you gotta get out of Brooklyn. These places are just so populated that once this stuff starts, within 3 days, everybody's gonna be a zombie, and you're gonna be like, what I think is there's gonna be a period of time when people are like, this isn't really happening, and during that period of time, I'm grabbing my kid and I'm making a run. I'm going to the hardware store and I'm gonna get some supplies. I'm gonna get a chainsaw. I'm gonna get like I believe one of the best things you can have in a zombie apocalypse is a ladder, because zombies are stupid and they can't climb up things. And so what I would do is I would jerry rig a ladder with like machetes on the ends. And this is because I'm making a run and I don't care who I got to knock over. I'm making a run over to the hardware store that is there in Guanas. So I'm going to run down to the hardware store in Guanas and I'm going to supply up. I'm going to load up. Like, I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. I know what I'm going to get. You know, the batteries, the duct tape, uh, as many sharp objects as I can. I'm going to jerry rig my ladder weapon. And so what it is it allows me to keep the distance from the zombies, but then if all else fails, I can use the ladder to escape. And we're going to make a run from Gowanus to the nearest boat. And again, I don't care who I got to beat up. I'm getting a boat, and I'm getting the hell away from the islands. I personally think that a good place to go, especially if it's winter, would be to go up to the Fingers. What are they called up there?
Finger Lakes?
Long Island, like to go north and to go like I think the end of Long Island might be kind of safe, like the beach, where you have a lot of visibility, not a lot of people. Of course, if it's summer, then you can just forget about that. But yeah, so like I think you have to go north. I believe that zombies cannot survive winter. I mean, I think that they would just freeze. So I would just try to make my way north on a boat that I would either steal or just I would steal it, because it's not just me. I got my family to think about. So
Right.
if I got to steal the boat too. Also, Costco is on the way. So if I have time no, fuck, I'm not going to Costco. Forget that.
I mean, nothing but zombies in Costco.
No, I'm not going.
Yeah.
There's always zombies in Costco,
That's what
whether
I'm
it's
saying.
zombie apocalypse or not. It's just there's zombies in Costco.
When you say Costco, I get that vision of the scene in World War Z when Brad Pitt goes with his family and they have to go to that supermarket.
Yeah.
And like I get like the guy tries to rape his wife and
Yeah.
like the cop is like not helping anybody, like he's just going to get stuff for his family and stuff.
Yeah.
You got people shooting at each other, somebody stole their RV. Like Costco's is not the place you want to be.
Right. So I
when
think
something like that goes down.
the key, Malik, is what I think is that there is going to be a period of disbelief, and the key is to act during that period of disbelief. While everybody else is hesitating, you need to just go. As soon as they start making these reports about, yeah, there's been some strange happenings, I was ready to jet when we started hearing those stories in Florida about the people that were, what is that called, Spice? Like when I heard about Spice.
The
and
guy
people
who
killing people,
cannibalized.
man, I was on zombie alert. I was like, that was when I started. I was like, I need to make an action plan. I need to be ready. Does that answer your question?
No, you absolutely answered my question, and actually, I wanted to get Johanna's take on this because, as a mother and as a mother of a young child, let's say that the television comes on during the course of this outbreak that seems to be going on, and the word from the what's that thing that comes up on your screen when it tells you the emergency broadcast system says. Stay in your homes. It says you should stay in your homes, lock your doors, fortify, and we will all be through this within a couple of days. It'll be over. Now, as a mother and as a mother of a young child, where are you thinking in terms of this type of situation? And what do you think about Lorenzo's ideas?
I am, let's see, part Sephardic, Jews who were expelled from Spain. Most of my family escaped like a potential civil war, and lots of indigenous people who had to escape the Spaniards to not be massacred. and like slaves who somehow made it through. There is no fucking way I'm staying at home. I am finding some way to get out. My survival, I have my little survival bell inside my head that I inherited from all these people who have had to leave their homelands. That's just like, you go. Somehow you are going to get out of here. So the first thing in my mind is that I am strapping my daughter to me, like in some way, because there is no way in hell I'm going to let her do her slow little walk. She has like these little walks she does now. No. You strap you, you're like 35 pounds, I can handle it. Then I would steal Lorenzo's plan.
Lorenzo's definitely the survivalist plan that you want to follow if that's the route you're gonna go.
My only suggestion to Lorenzo would be, because I know that he has an action plan and he has been working on it for the zombies, is to learn, if he doesn't already, learn some basic boat navigation skills so that he can get to where he wants to go.
Hello, Johanna. I was on a boat for like 5 days.
Oh my God! Well, that doesn't mean that you know navigation, but you know more about boats than all of us.
No, I know navigation. I can read a map. I can triangulate. I can use a compass. I know navigation. I am going north. It's not that hard.
Well, you know what? Like, what was I going to say? Yes, I potentially assumed. For the people in the audience who don't know, Lorenzo went on like a 5-day outward bound trip, of which all I remember is that it was a very small boat and you had to use a bucket to pee. But I know there were other skills that you learned, like navigation.
Yeah, if it's got a motor, then that's not a problem. If it doesn't have a motor, I can sail. So I am good to go. Yeah, I'm going north.
So Joe,
Yep.
you don't live in the city, so you're actually outside. You're actually already on the outskirts of the city. Would your location be more of a precursor for you to stay home and try to ride it out from your home area because you're actually away from the city enough so that maybe this wouldn't make it to you, and so you try to like ride it out in your house, or what would be your first instinct?
Well, Malik, if there's anything we've learned through zombie flicks, is that it spreads fast. You're not safe. It spreads quickly. Before you know it, it's already within 24 hours. It's already taken the whole East Coast. So, you have to jump into action. So now, and the thing is, you gave Lorenzo and Johanna slightly different scenarios where the emergency broadcast system told them to stay home, but in the scenario it says you need to go 100 miles to the safe zone.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to the safe zone, or I'm going to find another safe zone. Again, the movies teach us anything. Everybody who stays holed up in their house dies, right?
Well, but the movies also teach us that anything that says it's a safe zone isn't always a safe zone.
It's not.
So
that is true, Malik.
You may head there, and it's not.
It may be destroyed.
Exactly.
And I'm going to take my chances. So the first thing you need to do is you need to pair up. You need to find a group. If Walking Dead comics has taught us anything, you need to find a group. Right? You need to make friends and have people watching your back 24/7.
You need to find a captain.
Group. Huh?
You need to find a captain.
You do? I mean, remember, World War Z, the zombies were in the water too.
Yeah, but you have the advantage, though. If they're in the water and you're not, that's a definite advantage. And just like going north is an advantage. You need to play off the advantages. The ladder, playing off the advantages. For some dumbass reason,
I am with you going north. Definitely going north. The problem with getting on the boat is, at some point, you will need to head back to the land to get supplies. And you need to. And if you're not battle hardened, you're not going to know how to handle it.
Lorenzo better learn how to fish.
I know how to fish. We got fishing poles right next to. I'm looking at a fishing pole right now.
You have a fishing pole right now.
You think I'm kidding?
No, I don't think you're kidding. It's just funny the way you said it.
Fishing poles. I'm gonna take my skateboards, because skateboards I think are one of the better ways to travel during the zombie apocalypse, because you can use the skateboard as a weapon.
But you can't skate on it if you're using it as a weapon.
No, but like if you you can run with it and you can jump over fences, but you can be very mobile on feet. And then once you get some ground, then you can take off. So it's very versatile.
I'm gonna do what Resident Evil taught me, and I'm gonna head to my nearest pharmacy and get ammunition and look under a garbage can and find a Magnum gun.
There you go.
Cause that.
Are you talking about the video game?
Yes, I'm talking about the video game.
I'm gonna go to pharmacies to get ammunition because yes, pharmacies always have bullets.
I know.
Actually, I'm gonna go to the safest place in a zombie apocalypse. Apparently, if you are unconscious and sleeping in a bed, you are absolutely safe. And that's what Resident Evil, 28 Days, and Walking Dead have taught us.
Going to the hospital.
If you're in a cot.
If you're in a coma in a hospital, you are safe. So somebody hit me with a bat and knocked me out for me and my family, knock us out and put us in a put us in a hospital because then we'll be safe.
See, it's interesting that you mentioned that, Joe, because that's actually one of the things, and that's one of the reasons why I put the scenario in the way that I put it, because it seemed as if, in The Walking Dead, before Rick leaves if Rick were able to if he had known what was going on and he were able to find a way to stay in that hospital and just survive in there, he actually would have been fine. And then 28 days later, the proverbial stuff doesn't start hitting the fan until after you leave the facility where you were housed. If you're living, I think if you're living in a high rise or something like that, and everything is happening on the ground level, and you're on like the 24th floor or something along those lines, it might actually be smart of you to stay exactly where you are but here's my thing. Because of the fact that if you don't believe in the safe zone being a really safe zone, right, and you don't believe that you and your immediate family can get 100 miles, realize how long it's going to take for you to get 100 miles to wherever that safe zone is, especially if you don't have the ability to use a car to do so, because as we've seen in The Walking Dead and all these other things, the roads are all usually destroyed. Mm-hmm. With all kinds of stuff on the dead bodies and stuff like that on the ground.
Skateboard.
That the reality of the situation is you may be better off. Would you be better off trusting that the government, the army, or whatever would be able to contain the issue faster than you would be able to get to a safe zone?
Here's the question. Safe zone, man. It's not safe. I ain't going to the safe zone.
You can make your own safe zone when you leave.
I'm going south to Texas, because I think Texas, maybe Florida. Look, all right. I think Johanna touched on it nicely. In New York City, you're not going to be able to go to a pharmacy and buy ammunition. In Texas, you will be able to go to a pharmacy and buy ammunition. People are packing heat in Texas. I know people are packing heat in Florida. I'm going to go where the guns are, or I'm going north and just letting everything just freeze over and playing it safe. Because you know what? If you stay in your place in the city, it's going to get nuked. I mean, we're talking New York City. There's like 9 million people living here. This place, it's going to get infested. The only way they're going to be able to handle it is either to put up like a Mexican wall or just to blow the shit out of it. I think they're probably just going to nuke the entire city. That's my thinking on that.
We all know the Mexican wall doesn't work, so.
Yeah, exactly. So nukes. So if you stay in your house, you're going to get nuked.
Well, I think that the reality is, in Manhattan, which is an island, I think the water, and I had actually heard somebody reference that before, like the water is a natural barrier. Would actually contain it, just given the fact that in most zombie situations, zombies can't swim. So
yeah, but they could walk across a bridge, Malik. There's bridges.
Well,
they have to destroy the bridges.
You destroy the bridges.
They can walk under the water, Malik.
Malik, it takes
that's
one.
What I said. It's not.
It only takes one to get across.
In most zombie films or zombie shows, the zombies can't do anything in water. Like they can walk and they don't have, but they do have to breathe, but they can't walk at the bottom of the ocean because
they can. They did it in Walking Dead. They came after them like they just came out of the water.
Yeah,
Well,
and in oh my goodness, Land of the Dead was it?
right, which
One of
was
those
one, which,
terrible ones.
yeah, that was really horrible. It was really, really bad. But I mean, if you've ever, I don't know how deep the Hudson or the East Rivers are. I would assume that they're not, that they're pretty deep, and that a zombie, that even a bunch of zombies walking into the water would probably not make it to the other side. They just sink, or because
You
they
really
don't know to
think?
swim. They don't
You
know to
really think?
swim,
Do you
right?
really think Governor
That's what I
Cuomo
think.
or Barack Obama is going to take that chance?
No, no, no. I'm not saying that they would take the chance. I'm saying that from what I've read from people talking about it is that it appeared that an island would be a natural barrier because they wouldn't be able to swim. I don't necessarily think that but Joe's right. They would be able to walk over the bridge if they didn't blow up the bridge in time. It wouldn't matter because
Only takes
something would
one.
get
But
across.
the island is this it's an advantage to stay alive, but it's an advantage that they can't get to you, but you need to leave that island
Right.
in order to get supplies. And the problem with staying holed up in your home on the 28th floor is you will need to go out and get supplies. So there's no working elevator. You will have to take the stairs up and down. Now, you know there's going to be zombies in the stairway somewhere. It may not be all the way up to the 28th floor, but they may be up to the 10th floor or something like that. You have to fight your way through that every single time.
The other thing is
And you have to carry it up there.
now the other question is, and this is probably the last question before we jump off. But the other question that I have is about once you leave your home, you know, you don't know, and that's the other thing about it is you don't really know what's out there. You don't know. You can say that you believe that if you're going to go north, but you don't really know what you're walking into when you leave the sanctity of your home. So whether or not you trust that your home is safe enough, you don't really know what you're walking into. You only know that you want to protect yourself and you want to protect your family. So you're walking into an unknown situation regardless, right? I mean, am I right about that? Because it's not like you're going to get up to the minute updates of what's going on in the city as you're making your way to wherever you plan on going, and there's no way to know that you can go as far as north as you want. That by the time you get there, the spread, the virus won't have spread. So there's no way for you to know. Um, so to me, and I'm not arguing against your points. My only thing is to say your home is the only thing that you know, and it's the only area that you are aware of, and you're comfortable in that specific space. If you walk out of there, you're going into the unknown, whether it's the unknown where the zombies are there or the unknown of what's going on with humanity.
You're right.
So
You're
there's
right,
that
Malik.
definite fear there.
You're right to a certain extent, Malik. But the thing is, I know if I stay home, I'm definitely gonna die. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about that. At least if you leave, you have a shot because
Yeah, I mean, you even
you
said
got a
it.
shot.
You even said it, Malik, that like at the very best situation, it's the island acts as a natural barrier, so the can stay in, which means that there's going to be just zombies here. We won't even have the luxury of the zombies spreading out. It's just everybody. 9 million zombies are going to overrun the city, and anybody that's surviving probably has a gun and they want food. So you got the zombies coming after you, or you got humans coming after you, and it's not going to be safe, and the government's not going to be able to stop it. And so that's why I said the key is to move quick. You can't hesitate. If you wait
Yeah.
until you run out of food in your apartment, then you are going to be facing hundreds of thousands of zombies outside while you're trying to make that trip to Costco.
Well, you know what, and Lorenzo brought up a good point. I think you have to be more afraid of regular people than you do of the actual zombies.
Yep. I was. Walking Dead has definitely shown us that. Johanna, you were going to say something?
Um, just that, yeah, you kind of just have to, when you feel it, you feel that little twinge that's like, get out! Get out. And that, yes, you have to do it immediately, like Lorenzo said, so that you're potentially not dealing with zombies yet. I also realized I don't drive. I need to learn how to drive because like the zombie apocalypse could come. No, seriously, I'm going to use that as a motivator for learning how to drive. So thank
Driving
you.
is dangerous. You get stuck in a car, and those zombies can wait you out. Not
Yeah,
again
but
in 2 weeks, 3
but
weeks, 2
but
months.
you take a bus, and someone on the bus could be infected and bite you.
No. I'm not saying take the bus. I'm not saying take the subway.
He's saying take the
You're
skateboard.
saying
Take
take
the
the boat
skateboard.
and the skateboard.
Yeah, a boat. Yes, boats are good. Bikes are okay. Bikes are okay because you can jump off the bike and you can run because you're gonna have to run. It's like what they said in Walking Dead. Eventually, we always have to run. So yeah, and if you get on a boat, that's the ideal situation because you definitely have the advantage on a boat.
Lorenzo,
What?
are you going to let us on your boat?
If you are fast enough, when I call and I'm like, meet me in Red Hook like in 25 minutes, I'm leaving. Yeah, if you are able to get to Red Hook in 25 minutes, sure.
I think that's fair.
And Johanna, just a quick point. There's no reason that you should never feel bad about using the zombie apocalypse as a reason to do something. It's partially the reason why I have at least a minute knowledge of archery. So
Awesome.
there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with using the zombie apocalypse as a catalyst for change.
Yeah, seriously, I got like 10 hours of archery under my belt.
Wow, you guys are way more prepared than I am.
We're ready. Well, that does it for our show this week. What one thing fear has taught us is that you have to react. You have to see it before it comes, and you have to react before it gets too crazy. So I'm just gonna let you guys. Does anybody have any last words? Any last things they want to say before we sign out?
Blackfish taught me one thing: don't panic.
That's right. Don't panic. Definitely, keep your wits about yourself, and if you can breathe for a minute and 20 seconds, you're good to go.
Yep.
Get out.
Listen to the words in your head. Listen to those words in your head telling you.
Or in your walls. Listen to the words in your walls or your head.
Anywhere those words come from, listen to them because they're likely telling you the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if your house starts talking to you, it's time to get out.
Yep, damn right. Well, that's it for tonight. Of course, you could catch us on all the social networks. We are all over the place. I believe we actually have a recorded a recording of all of our social medias from Johanna, which we will add to the end of this podcast if Joe can do that. So we won't go down the list right now. So listen out for that. You can reach back out to us. Please feel free to connect with us. We will respond, and we will. And as Lorenzo mentioned, if you give us 5 comments, we will invite you on the show. I think that's still an offer out there. So we'll keep plugging it until we get another person to join us. So that's it for myself, for Joe, Johanna, and Lorenzo. I am Malik. We are the Agents of Helm. Have a great night, and stay warm, and keep your eyes open. 'Cause fear, it's everywhere. Have a good night.
Later.
Later.